The winter twilight came early in Denver. As snow-capped mountains loomed in the distance, Amy Barnes gazed out of her apartment window. She felt nervous about the family trip starting tomorrow. Her smartphone rang, with a mother appearing on the screen. Amy hesitated for a moment before answering. "Amy, I'm calling to confirm tomorrow's flight time." "Don't be late," Martha's voice carried its usual slight irritation. "It's at 10 o'clock. We'll meet at the airport at 8. We won't wait if you're late." "I know. I've already arranged everything at work." Jennifer took her vacation days well in advance. "That girl is so organized," Martha's voice contained obvious pride. Amy took a deep breath. "I took time off too. It's just that I had an important project until yesterday." "Just don't be late," Martha interrupted her daughter. "And Santa Fe gets cold, so bring proper clothes. Your outfits are always so." "I'm fine, Mom. I'm all packed." After hanging up, Amy let out a deep sigh. Even 10 years after leaving home and becoming independent, her relationship with her mother Martha hadn't changed. She was constantly compared to her sister Jennifer and made to feel inadequate no matter what she did. Having grown up in an affluent home in suburban Denver, Amy had led what appeared to be a privileged life from the outside. However, within the family, she had always been the shadow figure. Her father George was kind, but overwhelmed by his wife's strong personality, he never spoke up about the unfair treatment between the daughters. "Why do I participate every year?" Amy asked herself. She had established herself as a middle manager at an IT company, owned her apartment, and had fulfilling friendships. There was no need to join the family trips. Yet deep down, her desire to be acknowledged by her family remained. Especially, the yearning for approval from her mother was deeply rooted in her heart. While double-checking her suitcase, Amy recalled last week's events. She had just been promoted to project manager at her IT company. It was a significant achievement, but when she told her family, there was only a perfunctory "that's nice" in response. Meanwhile, when Jennifer had a department transfer at her advertising agency, their parents threw a celebration party and gave her an expensive gift. Amy's smartphone rang again. This time it was from her fiancé, Robert. She answered with a smile. "All packed?" Robert's warm voice reassured her. "Yes, everything's ready. Are you planning to tell your family about us?" After a brief silence, Amy replied, "Not yet. I'll talk about it when the timing is right." In reality, Amy had already informed her family about her engagement to Robert Hamilton. She had even sent wedding invitations, but received no response. They showed no interest even in major events in her life. "I understand," Robert respected her decision. "But they'll have to know eventually. Especially in Santa Fe." Santa Fe was the upscale resort town Amy's family visited every year. As usual, the annual Barnes family trip would take place there. But this year, something was different. There was a major change in Amy's life that her family knew nothing about. "I love you," Robert said before hanging up. "Take care of yourself." "Thank you. I love you too." After ending the call, Amy sat down on her bed. The annual family trip was always a mental ordeal for her. While her sister Jennifer was constantly the center of attention and her mother Martha dismissed her achievements and efforts, Amy had silently endured. But this year would be different. Amy's expression changed. She gazed out the window and smiled slightly. The departure lobby at Denver International Airport was bustling with morning activity. Amy hurried to the meeting spot, checking her watch. She arrived exactly at 8 o'clock, but the rest of the Barnes family was already gathered. Finally here, Martha Barnes looked her daughter up and down, frowning slightly. "We were about to head to the departure counter." "Good morning, Amy," her father George greeted her gently. There was warmth in his eyes, but he maintained his reserved demeanor in front of his wife. Jennifer looked up from her smartphone at her sister. On her shoulder hung a sophisticated designer bag that Amy had never seen before. The vibrant turquoise leather product was clearly from a luxury brand. "That's a lovely bag," Amy said, and Jennifer's face lit up with a satisfied smile. "A gift from Mom and Dad for my promotion," she proudly rocked the bag on her shoulder. "It's a limited edition. I had to be on a waiting list for 3 months." Amy unconsciously bit her lip. Last month, she had received an important promotion to project manager. It was a moment where years of hard work had paid off, but her parents' reaction was just a brief "congratulations" in an email. There was no gift, not even a congratulatory phone call. "Let's go check in," George suggested, trying to ease the tension. The flight to Santa Fe took off as scheduled. Amy sat by the window, lost in thought while gazing at the scenery above the clouds. Her father sat next to her but was engrossed in the in-flight magazine, with barely any conversation. In the seats ahead, Martha and Jennifer were cheerfully discussing travel plans. Their laughter occasionally reached the back. "I absolutely want to go shopping on Canyon Road," Jennifer's voice was bubbly. "I can't forget that gallery we found last time." "Yes, that was lovely," Martha's voice had a rare gentleness. "I've also booked a new spa this time. Let's go together." Amy sighed quietly. It was clear that she wasn't included in her mother and sister's plans. Upon arrival at Santa Fe Airport, they took a waiting taxi to the luxury resort, Santa Fe Crest. Amy knew this lavish accommodation. In fact, she had heard Robert talk about this resort many times. However, she hadn't mentioned this to her family. Entering the lobby, Amy marveled anew at the luxurious interior. Native American artwork harmonized with modern design, and warm-toned interiors welcomed visitors. While Martha went to the reception desk, Amy was left to watch the luggage. "Want something to drink?" Jennifer pointed to the lounge. "I'm going to order a martini." "I'm fine. I'll wait here," Amy smiled. Her father also followed Jennifer, leaving Amy alone with the pile of luggage. After a while, Martha returned. In her hand were 3 key cards. "George, you're in room 507, Martha handed one card to her husband. "Jennifer, you're next door in 509. Amy reached out her hand, but her mother didn't give her a card. "Where's my key?" Amy asked in confusion. Martha momentarily faltered, showing a confused expression. "Oh, I didn't book a room for you. I completely forgot." Amy stared at her mother in disbelief. "You're kidding, right?" "I'll go check." Martha headed back to the front desk. Jennifer chuckled as she looked at her sister. "Mom's done it again," her words implied this wasn't the first time. When Martha returned from the front desk, her expression wasn't good. "Unfortunately, the resort is fully booked. It's peak tourist season, so there are no cancellations." "So what am I supposed to do?" Amy's voice trembled. She felt her cheeks flush with anger and humiliation. "I checked nearby hotels too, but they're all fully booked," Martha shrugged. "Why don't you share a room with Jennifer?" "My room? Absolutely not." Jennifer protested immediately. "I'm planning to video call Michael. I need privacy." "So what am I supposed to do?" Amy repeated in confusion. Martha looked at her daughter with cold eyes. "Sleep on the lobby sofa or find another place," she slipped the last keycard into her pocket. "I'm going to rest in my room. I'm tired from the long journey." Amy was speechless. Not having a hotel room booked on a family trip. And with the excuse of forgetting. "Come on, don't look like that," Martha laughed lightly. "It's not a big deal to sleep outside for one night." At dinner time, the Barnes family gathered at the resort's upscale restaurant. Amy brought up the issue of her room again. "Why didn't you book a room for me?" "I don't understand." Jennifer, sitting across from her at the table, snorted. "We only need rooms for real family members, right? You're always the outsider anyway." Jenny. George tried to reprimand his daughter, but Martha interrupted. You're overreacting, Amy. I'm just saying you need to sleep outside. Like a homeless person, Martha raised her wine glass and took a sip. Stop playing the victim all the time. Silence fell over the table. Amy slowly put down her napkin and stood up. Her expression was calm, but determination shone in her eyes. I understand. But don't regret it. With those words, Amy left the restaurant. The remaining family members were silent for a moment before Martha laughed lightly and said, "That's just like her." Jennifer laughed in agreement, while only George looked uneasy. Leaving the resort's restaurant, Amy quickly crossed the spacious lobby with its marble floors. The night in Santa Fe was cold, and when she stepped outside the resort, her breath formed white mist in the air. However, inside her, a flame of anger burned. Looking at the smartphone she had taken out of her bag, Amy hesitated for a moment. If she took this step, there would be no turning back. It was a moment when emotions suppressed for years would finally be released. Without hesitation, she tapped Robert's name. Robert, can you talk now? Her voice was a mix of anger and sadness. Amy? What's wrong? Robert Hamilton's concerned voice came from the other end of the phone. Did something happen? My family. Amy's voice caught. They didn't book a room for me. They say they forgot, but it was deliberate. They? Calm down, Robert's voice was gentle, but anger was evident underneath. Where are you now? Outside the resort, Amy looked around. I needed a night walk. Stay there. I'll come get you. Amy hung up and sat on a stone bench. Countless stars twinkled in the sky. Santa Fe's night sky had a clear beauty different from Denver's. She took a deep breath, trying to calm herself. 15 minutes later, a black luxury car glided to the resort entrance. The door opened smoothly, and Robert stepped out. His refined appearance and dignified manner attracted the attention of nearby security guards and staff. Particularly, the resort manager rushed over to him, showing respect. Mr. Hamilton. What brings you here at this hour? The manager extended his hand nervously. Robert casually waved his hand, saying, personal business, and walked toward Amy. They embraced. Robert placed his hand on Amy's shoulder and gently asked, Are you all right? Amy smiled. Yes, I'm fine. Just angry. Amy Barnes. Suddenly, a voice came from behind them. As they turned around, a middle-aged man who had apparently just left the resort restaurant was standing there. The man, dressed in a fine suit, clearly recognized Robert. I had no idea you were a member of the Barnes family. Amy smiled wryly. Yes, though not a family I'm particularly proud of. The man turned to Robert and said in a tone of respect, Hamilton, what a place to meet. I've seen the materials for the next board meeting. Impressive quarterly results. Robert nodded politely. Richard, you're on vacation too? With family? Yes, with my wife and daughter. Richard looked around and began speaking in a hushed voice. I didn't know your fiancé was Ms. Barnes. Amy tilted her head. You knew about us? Richard showed a puzzled expression. Of course. Mr. Hamilton's engagement was big news in the industry. But your family doesn't know? Amy shook her head. Who I am? No, they don't even care about me. Richard started to say something, but Robert cleared his throat lightly and ended the conversation. Richard, let's talk more another time. Tonight is for personal matters. Richard showed understanding and bid them farewell. After he left, Robert took Amy's hand and led her to the car. Who was he? Amy asked. A director on the Santa Fe Tourism Board. Also a shareholder in this resort, Robert answered as he opened the car door. You didn't tell your family? About us? I sent invitations, Amy said as she got into the car. To the engagement party. But they didn't even respond. They have no interest in my life. The car moved toward a private elevator at the back of the resort. A security guard saluted and opened the barricade. They were going to make you sleep on a sofa tonight? Robert's voice contained barely suppressed anger. Yes, my mother said to us sleep outside, like a homeless person, Amy replied matter-of-factly. Her voice was tinged with fatigue. Robert gripped the steering wheel tightly. They should be told who you're engaged to, and who owns this resort. Amy gazed at the night scenery outside the window, deep in thought. I won't do anything tonight. But tomorrow, I intend to show them the truth. The elevator took them to the penthouse floor. When the doors opened, the luxurious interior of the resort's presidential suite spread before them. Amy knew this room. She had chosen the design of this suite together with Robert. How do you feel? Robert asked as he took her coat. Complicated, Amy sat down on the sofa. I thought I was used to their attitude. But today was my limit. Robert sat next to her and put his arm around her shoulder. You've been patient enough. You don't need to hold back anymore. I know, Amy exhaled deeply. But I want to see their faces tomorrow. Especially my mother's. Robert grinned. That should be interesting. He stood up and went to the bar counter. I'll get us some drinks. Amy checked her smartphone. There were already multiple missed calls. From her family. She ignored them and turned off the phone. What's your plan for tomorrow? Robert returned with wine glasses. First, I'll make them a little anxious, Amy smiled. And then, I'll shock them. They clinked glasses and gazed at the Santa Fe night view through the window. The smile on Amy's face reflected a sense of liberation from years of suppressed emotions. My secret power, Amy said quietly. They know nothing about me. My IT job, my relationship with you, my connection to this resort. Robert took her hand. You're an amazing woman. Your talent, intelligence, kindness. They're the ones losing out by not seeing it. Amy felt warmed by Robert's words. They had met 3 years ago when her IT company was assigned to revamp the systems for Robert's hotel chain. Amy had been selected as the project leader, and Robert highly appreciated her work. Their professional relationship evolved into a personal one, and a year ago, Robert proposed to her. After their engagement, Amy had become involved with Robert's business. Her design sense and efficiency were particularly appreciated in the Santa Fe Crest renovation project. Ironically, this resort where her family stayed every year had been shaped by her hand without their knowledge. Don't come to my room tonight, Amy said as she kissed Robert. I'll contact you after I resolve the issues with my family tomorrow. Robert nodded. Understood. I respect your decision. But if you need anything, just let me know. Amy smiled gratefully. She bid Robert goodnight and headed to the presidential suite's master bedroom. Entering the bedroom, she lay down on the bed and stared at the ceiling. When she turned on her smartphone, notification after notification appeared. 12 missed calls and 5 messages. She didn't open any of them and turned off the phone again. Imagining them searching for her gave her a small sense of satisfaction. Amy stood by the window, gazing at the lights of Santa Fe. Tomorrow would be a long day. But by the end of it, the power dynamics in the Barnes family would be forever changed. We only need rooms for real family members, right? Amy remembered Jennifer's words and chuckled softly. Yes, tomorrow I'll show you who I really am. She returned to bed and fell into a peaceful sleep for the first time in a long while. As the morning sun bathed Santa Fe's desert landscape in golden light, Amy was already awake. Standing on the presidential suite's balcony, taking a deep breath, her expression showed new determination. When she turned on her smartphone, as expected, a flood of notifications filled the screen. 22 missed calls, 10 messages. All from her family. But she didn't respond to any of them. Instead, she quietly ate breakfast and got dressed. Planning to explore the town of Santa Fe, she chose a casual yet high-quality linen dress, finishing the look with understated accessories. As she left the resort, the front desk staff greeted her politely. "Have a nice day, Ms. Barnes." Before Amy could respond, the manager hurried over. "We have a car prepared for Mr. Hamilton's fiancé, please use it whenever you like." She smiled. "Thank you. I plan to explore the town on foot this morning." "Understood. Please let us know if you need anything at all." As Amy was about to leave the lobby, the elevator doors opened, and her mother Martha and father George appeared. They clearly hadn't slept all night and wore tense expressions. "Amy!" Martha exclaimed. "Where have you been? We've been looking for you all night." Amy maintained her composure as she turned to face them. "Good morning, Mom, Dad. Where did you sleep?" George asked worriedly. "You didn't answer your phone or read our messages." "I'm fine. I had a place to sleep," Amy answered briefly. "I'm going to explore the town now. I plan to be back in the afternoon." "Let's have breakfast together," Martha quickly suggested. Her voice had an unusually pleading tone. "Jenny will be down soon." "I'm sorry, I need some time alone today," Amy said as she left the resort. The morning air in Santa Fe was clear and refreshing. Amy began walking toward the central area called the Plaza. This area was a tourist hotspot, lined with galleries exhibiting works by local artists and souvenir shops. Entering a small cafe on Canyon Road, the female owner brightened upon seeing her. "Amy. It's been too long." "Sophia," Amy embraced the woman. "How have you been?" Sophia Martinez was a Santa Fe native artist and Amy's college friend. Her works were also displayed in Robert's hotel chain. "What about you?" Sophia guided Amy to a table. "How are the engagement party preparations?" "Everyone's looking forward to it." Amy smiled as she ordered coffee. "It's in 2 weeks, so preparations are going well. Robert is handling all the details." "How lovely," Sophia looked out the window. "Are you here with your family today?" Amy's expression clouded slightly. "Yes. But it's complicated." "I know about your family," Sophia nodded understandingly. "I've always said you don't get the treatment you deserve from them." The two friends reminisced, and Amy's mood gradually lightened. By the time they left the cafe, last night's unpleasant incident felt like a distant memory. Walking through town, Amy received warm welcomes from multiple store owners. As Robert's fiancée, she was a known figure in this town. In one antique shop, the owner immediately brought out a special turquoise necklace upon seeing her. "I'm looking forward to Mr. Hamilton's engagement party," the owner said. "I've been saving this necklace specially for you." Amy smiled and accepted it. "Thank you. It's beautiful. This stone is Santa Fe's protective stone. It will ensure a happy marriage." In the afternoon, Amy returned to the resort. Her smartphone showed more than 10 additional missed calls. She ignored them and went directly to the penthouse. Entering the suite, she found Robert waiting for her, reading documents. "Was it a good walk?" Robert stood up and kissed her. "Yes, I visited some nostalgic places." Amy sat on the sofa. "I've had dozens of calls from my family. They must be worried about your absence," Robert said sarcastically. "I think they're more afraid of facing the consequences of their actions." Amy stared at her smartphone. 36 missed calls and 15 messages. "What will you do?" Robert sat next to her. "Still not planning to contact them?" Amy answered with a determined expression. "No, I'll appear before them tonight. I've made a reservation to coincidentally meet them at the restaurant." Robert looked surprised but quickly smiled. I see. I'll follow your plan. In the evening, Amy and Robert headed to the resort's finest restaurant, Mesa Grill. She was dressed in an elegant black dress, with the newly purchased turquoise necklace gleaming at her neck. Robert was also impeccably dressed in a dark gray suit, and together they made a perfect couple. Upon entering the restaurant, the manager personally guided them to the best table. From the window seat, they had a panoramic view of Santa Fe's beautiful twilight landscape. "I'll bring champagne," the manager signaled to the sommelier. "We also have a special menu prepared for today." Amy smiled with satisfaction. According to her calculations, her family would arrive in 30 minutes. Until then, she enjoyed conversation with Robert. At the appointed time, the restaurant doors opened, and the 3 members of the Barnes family entered. Martha and George's expressions were clouded with fatigue and anxiety, while Jennifer was clearly irritated. Amy watched them. She could see Martha's face turning pale the moment she spotted her. "Amy." Martha raised her voice. "Where have you been? We've been worried." She approached her daughter's table but hesitated when she noticed Robert's presence. "Disappearing since yesterday," George said worriedly. "It's inconsiderate." Jennifer noticed Robert standing next to Amy and completely changed her attitude. "Well, hello there. A friend of yours?" Her voice suddenly took on a sweetness. Amy calmly looked at her family. "Robert, this is my family." Robert regarded them with a stern expression. "Were you the ones who left Amy without a room last night?" Martha hurriedly tried to explain. "No, that wasn't our intention, just a misunderstanding." Jennifer showed a fawning smile. "We love Amy. She's a precious family member." Amy took out her smartphone and showed the call history. 36 missed calls. "Only when I'm gone do you notice my existence." Robert signaled to a waiter, and a security guard appeared. The man in the resort uniform approached the table with a solemn demeanor. "Please escort these people out," Robert ordered. "Their stay ends today." Martha turned pale. "What? Who are you exactly?" Amy quietly stood up. "He is Robert Hamilton. My fiancé and the owner of this resort. And I am." She paused, choosing her words. "I am more than you've ever thought." As she watched their shocked expressions, she said quietly, "I told you yesterday, didn't I? Don't regret it." As the security guard urged them on, with other restaurant guests watching curiously, the 3 members of the Barnes family quietly exited. The event venue, a renovated historic building in Santa Fe, was bathed in the soft light of dusk. Amy and Robert's engagement party gathered local dignitaries and entrepreneurs, filling the venue with elegant excitement. Amy, champagne glass in hand, was talking with her childhood friend Sophia. A large diamond ring sparkled on her finger, and the turquoise necklace beautifully complemented her dress. "Didn't you invite your family?" Sophia asked hesitantly. "I did," Amy answered quietly. "But they declined." In reality, her family had received invitations but, unable to recover from the events in Santa Fe, had declined to attend. She had heard they spent that night in a small motel and returned to Denver earlier than planned. "I heard Aunt Martha has disappeared from social circles," Sophia said in a low voice. Amy shrugged. "Mother has too much pride. Being escorted out of the resort might have been an unbearable humiliation for her." A week after the engagement party, Amy was back at work in her Denver office. Robert's presence had apparently influenced her promotion, and her position within the company had become even stronger. One afternoon, there was a knock on her office door. Opening it, she found her father George standing there. His face showed deep fatigue, making him look older than before. "I want to talk," he said. "Since that day, your mother hasn't recovered. I'm sorry we hurt you." Amy led her father to a conference room. Outside the window, the city of Denver was full of vitality. For years, I wasn't treated as a family member, Amy said quietly. It wasn't just one night's incident. George nodded. I understand. But I want to change. Especially me. I should have realized sooner. Won't you give us a chance to start over? After a long silence, Amy nodded slightly. It will take time. But it might be worth trying. She stood up and looked out the window. But remember one thing. I'm not who I used to be. I know my worth, and I'm surrounded by people who respect it. George nodded with tears in his eyes. I understand. I'm proud of your strength. Amy smiled. Then, shall we begin? 3 months later, Amy and Robert's wedding took place. Martha was also in attendance. Her attitude had clearly changed, showing a new respect for her daughter. Jennifer was invited but didn't attend. Amy had heard she recently experienced a breakup with Michael. Amy began her life with her new family, occasionally visiting her parents in Denver. The repair of their relationship was gradual but steady. Rather than finally gaining her family's recognition and love, she had rediscovered her own worth and found the strength to assert it. Sometimes life teaches us the truth about relationships and our own strength in the most unexpected ways. Amy Barnes Hamilton's story was precisely such a journey.